Prime Day is coming up, and while I'll have a deal video for you once the sale actually starts, I thought I'd share some sewing upgrades that I've added recently that have made a bigger difference than I expected. These are all things I genuinely wish I had bought sooner. Some solved little sewing frustrations, some made my sewing space more comfortable, and some simply made my projects look more polished. And if any of them go on sale next week, they're definitely worth watching for. First up is the rotating cutting mat, and honestly, I didn't realize how much a difference this would make. I just thought it was cool when I first saw it, but it's a game changer. They come in several sizes, but I chose the 12 by 12 option because it works for most of the pieces I cut. And I can always switch back to a regular mat for those occasional larger pieces. Instead of constantly picking up the fabric, repositioning everything, and trying not to knock your pattern weights out of place, you can just rotate the mat and keep cutting. It may not sound like a huge deal, but when you're working on a project with lots of pieces, those little adjustments can add up. It's one of those simple upgrades that makes cutting a lot faster and a whole lot less frustrating. Next is the wooden seam roller. And honestly, I put this one off because if I can press something with an iron, I'm going to. Nothing really replaces a good press. But I recently worked on a project with a lot of faux leather and clear vinyl, which obviously can't be ironed. So I finally picked one up, and I've been reaching for it more than expected. It's great for encouraging seams to lay nicely, or those little unexpected jobs that aren't quite worth dragging the iron out again for. I also specifically chose this wooden one from Savina because a lot of the others are plastic. The extra weight makes it feel more effective, and honestly, it's just a nice quality tool. It's definitely not something I use every day, but when I need it, I'm really glad I have it. Another tool I've really enjoyed is this multi-size curved corner ruler. Before I got it, I was always trying to trace random circles or figure out the right curve by hand, and it was just more work than it needed to be. This one gives you 1.5 inch, 2 inch, and 3 inch radius corners, which is perfect for rounded edges of bags and other accessories. And it takes all the guesswork out of getting nice, consistent curves. Now, a little quirk with this particular ruler is that the markings are only visible from the opposite side. So I just flip it over and use it that way. It's not really a big deal since it's clear, but I just wanted to mention it. Other than that, it's super sturdy. It does exactly what I need it to. And for about $6 when I bought it, I thought it was fantastic value. Now, those tools solved some little frustrations, but some of my favorite additions to my sewing room weren't actually tools at all. This one actually might be my favorite upgrade of the whole video, and it's probably the least exciting to look at. I'm actually sitting on it right now. For years, I've used a stool instead of a traditional sewing chair because I like to be able to lean forward, move around, and adjust the height for my counter height sewing table. A full chair just never felt quite right for the way I sew. But I didn't realize how uncomfortable my old stool was until I upgraded to this stool. The seat is wider, the cushion is much more comfortable, and the wheels glide so much better across the floor instead of kind of scratching the floor every time I move. It just feels sturdier and more comfortable overall. And if you've been looking at expensive sewing chairs, don't overlook the idea of a stool. Some of the popular sewing chairs can cost 2 or 3 times as much. And I honestly discovered I didn't want a chair at all. I just wanted a better stool. Plus, this one happens to match my machine, which clearly makes me sew better. Another upgrade I've really enjoyed is this tabletop ironing board. I got tired of running back and forth every time I wanted to press something and wanted to keep everything right at my sewing station. At first, I tried one of those wool pressing mats, and I'm not a fan. They recommend not using steam, which for me is just kind of annoying because steam is what gives it that nice crisp press. But I didn't realize how much of that steam would go straight through the mat. It ended up warping my large cutting mat before I figured that out. So I switched to this little tabletop ironing board, which has legs that keeps the heat and steam away from the table underneath. It doesn't take up much space, and now I have pressing right at my station without worrying about damaging anything. If your main ironing board is in another room or down in the basement, having something like this right at your sewing station is just so much more convenient. And speaking of convenience, I know I've talked about this one before, but I still love my mini tabletop trash can. Until I got it, all of my thread tails and fabric trimmings just ended up in a pile on the table until I finally cleaned it up. Now I can toss in everything as I go, and I don't have little bits blowing around or sticking to my fabric. It's so tiny, it barely takes up any space. But it's plenty big enough for all those little scraps. And the metal design means nothing clings to the sides. Plus, I just think it's cute. And anything that keeps my sewing area cleaner and makes me smile is a win for me. Now, if you're finding this video helpful, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you're new here, I share sewing tutorials, beginner-friendly techniques, practical accessories, and the tools and resources that make sewing easier and more enjoyable. So if that interests you, I'd love if you'd subscribe. Now, one thing I wish I'd tried sooner is this plastic snap kit. Before I got it, I mostly avoided projects that needed snaps because I didn't want to deal with hand sewing them in. And honestly, traditional snaps always felt like more trouble than they're worth. This kit came with everything I needed to get started, including the pliers and a variety of snap colors. And it completely changed the way I think about closures. They're quick to install, they add a fun pop of color, and unlike hand-sewn snaps, you can install them right at the end of the project instead of trying to hide the stitches somewhere inside the project. It's one of those things that made sewing more fun because I stopped designing around whatever was easiest and started adding snaps wherever they made sense. If you're curious about cam snaps, a starter kit like this can be an easy and affordable way to try them out without investing in a huge collection right away. Along the same lines, I really enjoy having a metal snap kit as well. It gives you all the same convenience of installing snaps at the end of the project, but with a more traditional look and even more design options. I especially like using metal snaps with faux leather projects, and this kit came with 4 different metal finishes along with everything needed to install them. The pliers require a different setting depending on which part of the snap you're installing, but I still found them surprisingly easy to use. In fact, I found these easier to install than plastic snaps. And they've quickly become one of my favorite ways to add a polished finish to a project. And finally, one of the coolest things I've discovered is Heat & Bond's iron-on vinyl. It basically lets you turn almost any fabric into a wipeable, water-resistant surface. It's incredibly easy to use, and it doesn't make the fabric stiff or difficult to sew. It still feels like fabric, just with a little extra protection and a subtle shine. I've used it on my organizer tote bag, which I actually made with cute Dollar Tree fabric. Adding vinyl meant I could lay the bag down in the grass, wipe it clean, and not worry so much about making messes. I've also used it for things like a bike basket cover to add some extra weather resistance. It's one of those products that opens up a lot of possibilities. And if you've ever wished your favorite fabric could be a little bit more durable or a little bit more clean, this stuff is your friend. I'll have everything linked below, including my Amazon storefront, where I'll be updating a Prime Day 2026 list throughout the sale with deals that are actually worth watching. And if you're shopping Prime Day, be sure to check back on Tuesday because I'll have another video covering the actual deals.